Diane stood at the edge of the drilling platform, staring at the screen that made no sense. The numbers kept changing, climbing higher and higher. 300 meters below the ice, something was burning. Not just warm, burning. Hot enough to melt steel. Hot enough to turn rock into liquid. But the ice above had stayed frozen solid. "This is wrong," he said quietly. Hannah walked up behind him, her boots heavy on the metal floor. She was the boss of the whole colony, the person who made the big decisions. Right now, she looked tired. "Wrong how?" She asked. Du Yun pointed at the screen. "Water can't burn. Ice can't stay frozen when something this hot is right under it. The laws of physics don't work like this." Hannah studied the data. She had been a soldier before becoming a colony administrator. She knew when something was dangerous. This felt dangerous. "How long has this been happening?" "We first detected it 6 hours ago. It's spreading. Slowly, but it's definitely growing." Jiho rushed onto the platform, nearly slipping on the ice. He was young, brilliant, and always in a hurry. "I've got the deep scan results," he said, breathing hard. "You're not going to believe this." He pulled up a 3-dimensional image in the air. It showed the ocean floor beneath their colony. Through the solid ice and water, red lines threaded like veins in a body. They pulsed with heat, moving in patterns that seemed almost alive. "What am I looking at?" Hannah asked. "Fire," Jiho said. "Actual fire. But it's burning inside solid matter. The ice around it should be steam by now, but it's not. The water should be boiling. It's not. Whatever this is, it's breaking every rule we know." Diane felt cold despite his thick jacket. He had studied rocks and planets his whole life. He had seen volcanic systems, understood how heat moved through matter. This was different. This was impossible. "Has anyone else detected this?" Hannah asked. "The other colonies? The ships in orbit?" "The Galactic Council has stations everywhere in this system," Jiho said. "If we found it, they found it too." As if hearing his words, the communication system beeped. A face appeared on the screen. Not human. The Vaurine representative looked like a tall, thin bird made of crystal. Its voice was musical but cold. "Administrator Lee, we have detected the thermal anomaly on your world. Our analysis is complete. And?" Hannah crossed her arms. "This is a Class 5 spatial anomaly. No species in Council records has survived one. You must evacuate immediately. You have 48 hours. Diane felt his stomach drop. 48 hours to leave their home. Everything they had built here. All their work. What exactly is this anomaly?" Hannah asked, her voice steady. "Unknown. Our records show similar events on 17 other worlds. All resulted in complete planetary destruction. The physics become unstable. Reality itself breaks down. There is no defense, no solution. Only evacuation. How long do we have before the planet is destroyed?" "Unknown. Could be days. Could be hours once the cascade begins. Do not waste time seeking answers. Leave while you can." The screen went dark. Jiho looked at Diane, then at Hannah. "They're just going to abandon this world? Not even try to understand it?" "That's what they do," Hannah said quietly. "When something is too dangerous, too unknown, they run. That's how they've survived this long." Diane walked to the edge of the platform again. Below, through the clear ice, he could see the ocean. Somewhere down there, impossible fire was burning. His scientific mind wanted to understand it. Needed to understand it. "What if we don't leave?" he said. Hannah looked at him. What if we stay? Study this?" The council said 17 worlds were destroyed, but they never said anyone tried to understand why. They just ran. Every time. They ran because they wanted to live, Hannah pointed out. "Maybe," Diane said. Or maybe they died because they ran without understanding what they were running from. Jiho was nodding. The pattern of the fire is not random. I've been watching it. There's mathematics in the way it moves, structure. If it was just destructive chaos, it wouldn't have patterns. Hannah was quiet for a long moment. Diane knew what she was thinking. She was responsible for almost 4,000 lives. The easy choice was to evacuate. The safe choice. The choice that every other species in the galaxy would make. But humans had not come to the stars by making easy choices. 48 hours, she finally said. We study this for 48 hours. If we find nothing, if it gets worse, we evacuate. Agreed? Diane nodded. Jiho grinned. They worked through the night. Diane assembled a team of geologists and engineers. They dropped sensors into the ice, drilling carefully, measuring everything. The fire stayed exactly 300 meters down, never rising, never falling. The temperature readings were insane. 10,000 degrees in some spots. But the ice above remained at minus 30 degrees. Jiho discovered the patterns were repeating. Every 73 hours, the fire moved in the same sequence. Like a heartbeat. Like breathing. It's alive, he said at one point. Don't be ridiculous, Diane replied. Fire isn't alive. This fire might be. By morning, more data had arrived from the Council's automated monitoring stations. The fire was spreading across the entire planet, following the ocean currents deep underground. In 48 hours, it would cover Arcturus 7 completely. Hannah called a colony meeting. Everyone came. Parents with children. Engineers and farmers. Scientists and cooks. Nearly 4,000 people packed into the main habitat dome. She didn't lie to them. She showed them the data. Explained what the council said. Told them about the evacuation order. We have transport ships, she said. Enough for everyone. The council will take us to other colonies. We can survive this, but... Someone called out. Hannah smiled slightly. But we have 48 hours. And in that time, we might learn something. We might understand what this is. Or we might confirm that the council is right and we need to run. And if we're still here when the 48 hours end? An older woman asked. Then we'll be on our own. The council will leave. They won't risk their ships. The colony voted. It wasn't close. 3,847 chose to stay. 12 wanted to leave immediately. Hannah arranged transport for the 12. She didn't judge them. Fear was reasonable. Leaving made sense. But as Diane watched the small shuttle lift off into the purple sky of Arcturus 7, he felt something else. Not fear. Curiosity. The burning desire to know what was happening to their world. The fire continued to burn in places where nothing should burn. And humanity, stubborn and strange, chose to walk toward it instead of away. 48 hours began counting down. Tammin had not slept in 36 hours. His eyes were red, and his hand shook slightly as he moved between screens, but he kept working. The quantum physicist was used to problems that made no sense. His entire field of study dealt with particles that could be in two places at once, with time that moved differently depending on where you stood. But this was different. This was wrong in ways that hurt his brain. The fire is rewriting physics, he said to the small group gathered in his lab. Diane was there, along with Yuna, the colony's medical officer. Not breaking the laws, rewriting them. In the spaces where the fire burns, different rules apply. Can you explain that in normal words? Diane asked. Tammin rubbed his face. Imagine you're playing a game. The game has rules. You can move forward, backward, left, right. Then suddenly, in one corner of the board, you can also move in a fifth direction. a direction that doesn't exist anywhere else. That's what's happening here. Yuna leaned forward. She was young but sharp, and she had spent the last day studying samples they had pulled from the edge of the fire zone. The biological effects are just as strange. I've been testing the transformed matter. Everything changes except human tissue. What do you mean? Hana had just entered the lab, looking as tired as everyone else. Yuna brought up images of cells under a microscope. We had a garden near drilling site 7. Vegetables, some earth plants, some alien varieties we brought from other colonies. The fire touched them. Look! The images showed plant cells that had been transformed into something else. Something crystalline and complex, still alive, but fundamentally different. Now, look at this. Yuna showed another slide. Skin cells from Jiho. He got some of the transformed matter on his hand yesterday. The human cells looked completely normal. The fire ignores us, Yuna said quietly. Everything else changes. Bacteria, plants, the native microorganisms in the ocean. All transformed. But human biology? Untouched. Diam felt a chill run down his spine. That's not random. No, Taman agreed. It's not. Hannah looked at the data, her military mind working. So this fire, this anomaly, it's selective. It's choosing what to change and what to leave alone. It's choosing to leave humans alone, Yuna corrected. There was silence in the lab. Outside, they could hear the colony going about its work. People were preparing, just in case they had to evacuate. But most were continuing their normal routines. Humans were good at that, working while the world ended around them. Jiho burst into the lab. As usual, he was moving too fast, excited about something. I need to go down there. Into the fire. Absolutely not, Hana said immediately. Listen, I've modified a pressure suit. Triple-layered cooling systems, reinforced with the heat-resistant alloys from the mining equipment. If the fire really doesn't affect human tissue, I can get close. See what's actually happening. Diane started to protest, but Taman held up a hand. He's right. We need direct observation. All our data is from sensors, from a distance. We need eyes on the source. It's too dangerous, Yuna said. Everything about this is dangerous, Jiho replied. But sitting up here guessing won't save us. We need to know. Hana looked at each of them. The decision was hers to make. She could order Jiho to stay safe. No one would blame her. How long until the suit is ready? She asked. Jiho grinned. It's already done. I built it last night. 3 hours later, Jiho descended into the fire. They had drilled a shaft straight down, through 300 meters of ice and water. The modified pressure suit kept him alive as he sank deeper and deeper into the impossible heat. Doi watched the video feed in the control room, his heart pounding. The numbers on the screen said Jiho was surrounded by temperatures that should turn him into ash instantly. But the suit held, barely. I see it, Jiho's voice crackled through the radio. The fire. It's beautiful. The video showed what he meant. The fire didn't look like fire. It looked like light frozen in place, veins of pure energy threading through the rock and ice. Where it touched matter, that matter changed, became something more complex, more organized. It's not destroying anything, Jiho said, his voice full of wonder. It's transforming, building, creating. Creating what? Hana asked. I don't know. Something new. Something that shouldn't exist but does anyway. Jiho moved closer to a vein of fire. Doyan held his breath. If the suit failed, if they were wrong about human immunity, Jiho would die in seconds. But the fire seemed to bend around him. Not avoiding him exactly, but acknowledging him. Making space. It knows I'm here, Jiho whispered. Get out, Hana said. We've seen enough. Come back up. Wait, there's something else. Something big. Deeper down. Jiho, that's an order. Return now. For a moment, they thought he wouldn't listen. Then his voice came back, disappointed but obedient. Understood. Coming up, they pulled him out slowly, carefully. When he finally emerged, his suit was scorched and the cooling systems had nearly failed. But Jiho was alive and smiling. We can work with this, he said, pulling off his helmet. Whatever it is, it's not trying to kill us. It's trying to change things. And it's leaving us alone on purpose. Yuna examined him immediately, checking for radiation, for cellular damage, for anything wrong. She found nothing. Jiho was perfectly healthy. That night, Hana sent their findings to the Galactic Council. She included everything: the patterns, the selectivity, Jiho's successful descent. She explained that the fire might not be destructive, that it might be something else entirely. The Council's response came quickly. The Valrine representative appeared on screen, its crystalline face unreadable. Your data is irrelevant. The pattern is consistent with previous Class 5 anomalies. All 17 previous worlds showed similar characteristics in early stages. All 17 were destroyed, but did anyone study them? Hannah asked. Did anyone try to understand? Understanding is not required for survival. Evacuation is mandatory. You now have 12 hours remaining. 12? You said 48. The anomaly is accelerating beyond predicted parameters. We are moving our fleet to a safe distance. Any ships remaining in the system after 12 hours will be abandoned. The screen went dark. Hannah stood very still. Around her, the research team looked at each other. 12 hours. Not enough time to finish their analysis. Not enough time to really understand what was happening. We need to vote again, Timan said quietly. Hana shook her head. No. Anyone who wants to leave has 12 hours to get to the transport ships. Anyone who wants to stay, stays. No vote. Just choice. Word spread through the colony quickly. 12 hours until the council left them behind. 12 hours to decide between safety and the unknown. Doyan walked through the habitat that night, watching people pack or not pack. Families talking quietly. Engineers running last checks on systems. Children playing, not understanding the weight of what was happening dawn by dawn. The count was final. 12 more people had decided to leave. That was it. Just 24 out of nearly 4,000. The rest were staying. Hannah stood on the platform as the last transport ship lifted off. She watched it rise into the sky, watched it dock with the council fleet in orbit. Then she watched the entire fleet turn and jump to faster than light, leaving the system, leaving humanity alone with the fire. Wow, Doyun said, standing beside her. Now what? Hana smiled, though her eyes were worried. Now we find out if we're brave or just stupid. The fire burned on, spreading across their world, and humanity stood ready to meet it. Minho checked the seals on the submersible one more time. He had built deep-sea vehicles before, machines designed to withstand enormous pressure and extreme conditions. But this was different. This machine had to take them 900 meters below the ice, into the heart of the fire itself. Are you sure about this? Nari asked. She was the youngest on the team, barely 26, but her mind worked in ways that made even Timan jealous. She could see patterns in data that others missed. No, Minho admitted. I'm not sure about anything anymore. But the readings are clear. Whatever is causing this is down there, at the source. Diane climbed into the submersible beside them. Hannah had wanted to come, but someone had to stay and run the colony. That left 3 of them for this journey: Minho to pilot, Doyan to study the geology, and Nari to analyze whatever they found. The submersible was cramped and cold, despite the heating systems. They sealed the hatch and Minho began the descent. The drilling shaft took them down through the ice, then into the ocean itself. The water here was strange, affected by the fire below. It glowed faintly, illuminated by light that came from nowhere. Temperature rising, Minho said, watching his instruments. We're at 400 meters. Pressure is stable. Nari had her screens filled with data, numbers scrolling past too fast for normal eyes to follow. But she saw everything, her mind cataloging and categorizing. The pattern is stronger here. It's like a pulse. Every 73 hours, exactly. Like a heartbeat, Doyen muttered. Maybe it is, Nari replied. They descended deeper. The water grew brighter, the glow intensifying. Through the small windows, they could see the fire now. It wasn't red or orange like normal fire. It was white and blue, and colors that didn't have names, colors that hurt to look at directly. 600 meters, Minho reported. His hands were steady on the controls, but Dayun could see sweat on his forehead. Hull integrity good. Temperature inside the cabin is rising but manageable. The fire was all around them now, threading through the water like living things. The submersible pushed through it, and where the vessel touched the fire, nothing happened. The hull didn't melt. The metal didn't burn. The fire simply moved around them, making space. It's avoiding us again, Doyen said. Just like with Jiho. Not avoiding, Nari corrected, her eyes never leaving her screens. Acknowledging. There's a difference. At 800 meters, they saw it. Minho stopped the submersible, and all three of them stared. A structure. Massive, crystalline, impossibly complex. It sat in a cavity in the planet's mantle, a space that by all rights should not exist. The structure pulsed with light and energy, and from it, the fire spread outward in perfect mathematical patterns. That's not natural, Minho whispered. No, Doyen agreed. It's a machine. They moved closer, carefully. The structure was larger than their entire colony, a cathedral of crystal and light that seemed to fold through dimensions they couldn't quite perceive. Nari's instruments went crazy, detecting energy signatures that shouldn't be possible. It's old, she said, her voice filled with awe. Really old. Millions of years. Maybe billions. Who built it? Minho asked. Someone who's not here anymore, Doyen replied. He pointed at symbols carved into the base of the structure. They glowed faintly, and even though he had never seen that language before, he somehow understood their meaning. Warning. Test. Transformation. It's a test, he said. This whole thing. The fire, the patterns, everything. It's testing the planet. Testing for what? Minho asked. Before anyone could answer, the structure responded to their presence. Light flared, and suddenly they were connected to it. Not physically, their bodies remained in the submersible. But their minds touched something vast and ancient and utterly alien. Images flooded through them. 17 worlds burning. 17 different species encountering this same machine. 17 times, the species had failed the test. They had run or fought or tried to destroy the machine. Each time, the machine had concluded they were not ready and had shut down, leaving the world to collapse into chaos. It's been searching, Nari gasped. Tears streaming down her face from the intensity of the connection. Searching for a species that can adapt, that can change, that won't run from the impossible. More images came. The species that built this machine, long extinct now. They had created these tests across the galaxy, waiting for something specific. A kind of consciousness that could handle transformation. That could accept the impossible and work with it instead of fighting against it. It's been waiting for us, Diane realized. For humans? The machine showed them what would happen if they passed the test. The fire would spread across the entire planet, transforming it into something new. Not destroying, transforming. Matter would become more complex, more alive. The planet itself would become conscious, aware, a living thing that could think and grow. And humanity could be part of that. Could merge with the planet without losing themselves. Could become something more than they were, but only if they chose it. The machine could not force transformation. It could only offer it. What happens if we refuse? Minho asked the question aloud, and somehow the machine heard him. It showed them. The fire would fade. The machine would shut down. The planet would return to normal. Humanity could continue as they were, unchanged, unaffected. Safe. The connection faded, leaving them gasping in the cramped submersible. For a long moment, no one spoke. They had touched something beyond their understanding, had been offered a choice that no human had ever faced before. "We need to get back," Doyen finally said. "Hannah needs to know about this." The ascent was quiet. Each of them was lost in thought, processing what they had experienced. When they finally surfaced and climbed out of the submersible, they found most of the colony waiting for them. Word had spread. Something had happened down there. People wanted to know. Hannah helped Do-yoon out of the vessel. "Well, it's a machine," he said. "An ancient test. And we need to make a choice." They gathered in the main habitat that night. All 3,835 people who had chosen to stay. Do-yoon, Nari, and Minho explained what they had found. They showed the data, described the connection, told them about the choice the machine offered. Transformation or rejection. Become something new or stay the same. The colony erupted in argument. Some wanted to refuse, to send the machine away and keep their lives as they were. Others were curious, excited by the possibility of becoming more. Many were simply scared. Taman stood up, quieting the crowd. "The Galactic Council has species from hundreds of worlds. They're all stable, safe. They evolved on planets that were kind to them, that didn't challenge them too much. They've been comfortable for so long they've forgotten how to change." He looked around at the faces watching him. "We're different. Humans came from Earth, a world that tried to kill us in every way possible. Ice ages and asteroid strikes and plagues and predators. We should have died 1,000 times over. But we didn't. We adapted. We changed. We became something that could survive anything." Yuna added her voice. "The machine is offering us a chance to evolve again. Not slowly, over millions of years, but now. Together, we could become something unprecedented in the galaxy. Or we could die," someone called out. "Yes," Yuna admitted. "We could. This could all go wrong. But doing nothing is also a choice. And humans have never been good at doing nothing." Hannah stood at the front, letting everyone speak. Arguments flew back and forth. Questions were asked and answered. Fears were voiced and acknowledged. Finally, as dawn broke over Arcturus 7, she called for silence. "This isn't a vote," she said. "This can't be. This personal. Each of us has to decide for ourselves. Are we willing to change? Are we brave enough to walk into the fire and see what's on the other side?" The choice hung in the air, heavy and real. And deep below them, the ancient machine waited patiently for humanity's answer. Sumi stood before the Colony Council, her face tight with worry. She was 45 years old and had 3 children. She spoke for the families, for the people who had more to lose than just themselves. "We don't understand what transformation means," she said, her voice steady but strained. "This machine is offering to change us, to change our world, but we don't know what we'll become. How can we make this choice when we don't know what we're choosing?" Hana sat at the council table, listening. Beside her, the other council members looked equally torn. This was the 3rd meeting in as many days, and they were no closer to consensus. Hyan raised his hand. At 22, He was the youngest department head in the colony's history, an engineering genius who thought in ways that made older scientists jealous. "We've already passed the point of no return," he said quietly. "The fire is spreading. In 72 hours, it will cover the entire planet. Whether we choose transformation or not, we can't go back to what we were. But we can refuse," Sumi countered. "The machine said it would leave if we reject the transformation." "And then what?" Hyan asked. "The planet returns to normal, sure. But we'll know what we gave up. What we were too afraid to try." "Can we live with that?" Diane entered the council chamber, teaming close behind him. They had been working in the lab all night, running more tests, gathering more data. Both men looked exhausted, but excited. "We found something," Tiemann said without preamble. He brought up a holographic display showing molecular scans. "Every sample we've taken from the transformed zones shows the same thing. The matter isn't being destroyed. It's becoming more complex, more stable, more alive." He zoomed in on a sample of transformed rock. This was granite. Simple crystalline structure. "Now look at it. The molecules are organized in ways we've never seen before. They store energy. They can repair themselves if damaged. They're not just rock anymore. They're smart rock." "Smart rock?" Sumi repeated, skeptical. "For lack of a better term, yes. The transformation doesn't take things away. It adds to them. Makes them more than they were." Yuna stepped forward. "I've been analyzing the biological implications. If we accept the transformation, we won't lose our humanity. We'll add to it. Our consciousness would expand. We'd still be us, but more aware, more connected." "Connected to what?" one of the council members asked. "To each other, to the planet, to the universe itself." Yuna's eyes shone with something like wonder. "Imagine being able to feel the thoughts of everyone in the colony. Not invasively, but like background music. Imagine understanding the world around you, not just intellectually, but emotionally, spiritually." Sumi shook her head. "That sounds terrifying." "It sounds amazing," Hyan countered. The argument continued. Back and forth. Fear against curiosity. Safety against possibility. Hannah let it go on, knowing they needed to work through this themselves. Finally, she stood. "Enough. We're not getting anywhere like this. Taemin, you said the fire will cover the planet in 72 hours. What happens if we do nothing? If we just wait?" Taemin looked uncomfortable. "The machine will interpret that as rejection. It will shut down. The fire will fade. The planet will return to its original state." "So we don't have to do anything," Sumi said with relief. "Actually," Hyan interrupted, "we do. I've been thinking about this. The machine wasn't designed for collaboration. It was designed to test species and move on. But what if we don't accept or reject? What if we try something else?" Everyone turned to look at him. The young engineer smiled nervously. "What if we try to work with it? Interface with the machine. Guide the transformation instead of just accepting it blindly." "That's impossible," Tiemann said immediately. "The machine's technology is millions of years more advanced than ours. We can't just plug into it." "Why not?" Hyan asked. "It's technology. Technology can be understood. We've been assuming we have to play by the machine's rules, but humans have never been good at following rules." Diane felt something spark in his mind. "You want to hack an ancient alien machine." "I want to collaborate with it," Hyan corrected. "The machine is looking for adaptable consciousness. What's more adaptable than refusing to accept the binary choice it's offering and creating a third option?" The room fell silent. It was a crazy idea. Insane, really. The kind of plan that should never work. But it was also brilliantly human. How would we even start? Hannah asked. Hyan was already pulling up designs. The machine responds to consciousness. We've seen that. When Doyan, Nari, and Minho touched it, it communicated through their minds. So we build an interface that amplifies that connection. Part human technology, part alien structure. A bridge between our way of thinking and its way of thinking. You want to build a bridge to an alien consciousness in 72 hours? Sumi's voice was flat with disbelief. 72 hours is plenty of time, Hyan said with the confidence of someone too young to know better. If everyone helps. Taemin was studying the designs, his scientific mind warring with his skepticism. This shouldn't work. The energy requirements alone are insane. And even if we built it, we have no guarantee the machine would accept the connection. But it might, Doyan said slowly. The machine has been waiting for adaptable consciousness. For someone who would approach the impossible and try anyway. This is exactly the kind of thing it's looking for. Hannah made the decision. We try it. Everyone who wants to help, help. Everyone who doesn't, that's fine too. But we're doing this. The next 72 hours were chaos. The entire colony mobilized. Engineers worked alongside farmers. Scientists collaborated with children. Even Sumi, despite her doubts, contributed ideas about how to make the interface safe for human minds. Hyan directed the construction like a conductor leading an orchestra. Components came together in ways that shouldn't work. Human computer systems merged with transformed matter from the fire zones. Quantum processors interfaced with crystalline structures grown from samples of the ancient machine. Minho built the physical framework. A massive arch near the drilling site where they had first detected the fire. Nari programmed the connection protocols, creating software that could theoretically bridge the gap between human and alien thought. Yuna prepared the medical stations, ready to help anyone whose mind was overwhelmed by the connection. Taemin calibrated the energy systems, trying to prevent the whole thing from exploding or melting or simply failing to work. They worked without stopping. Meals were eaten at workstations. Sleep was snatched in short bursts. The fire continued to spread beneath them, patient and inevitable. With 12 hours remaining, the interface was complete. It stood in the center of the colony, like a monument to human stubbornness, a towering arch of mixed technology that pulsed with light, connected by cables and conduits to the transformed zones below. It's beautiful, Jiho said, staring up at it, like a sculpture made of hope and desperation. Will it work? Sumi asked quietly. I have no idea, Hyan admitted. But we built it anyway. That's what humans do. Hannah stood before the interface as the final countdown began. The entire colony had gathered. Some were excited. Some were terrified. All were here. This is it, she said. In a few hours, the fire will complete its spread. We can let it happen, reject it, or we can try this. Try to work with something we don't fully understand. Try to change the test itself. She looked at the faces around her. Her people? Stubborn, curious, brave humans who had chosen to stay when every logical voice told them to run. Whatever happens, Hannah continued, we chose this. We didn't run. We didn't give up. We saw an impossible problem and built an impossible solution. That's what makes us human. She reached out and activated the interface. The world screamed. Energy surged through the connection. Too much. Too fast. The interface sparked and flared, barely holding together under the strain. Through it, they could feel the machine's awareness. Vast and ancient and surprised. Surprised that they had tried. Surprised that it was working. The interface stabilized. The screaming stopped. And for the first time in millions of years, the ancient machine had a conversation instead of conducting a test. Humanity had chosen to dance with the fire. Now they would see if the fire would dance back. The transformation began at dawn. Doyun felt it first. He was standing at the observation window, watching the sun rise over the ice fields when the sensation washed over him. Not pain, not even discomfort, just awareness. Suddenly, he could feel the planet beneath his feet. Really feel it, every rock formation, every frozen ocean, every vein of fire threading through the deep places dotted around the colony. Others gasped as the same awareness touched them. Hannah gripped the railing of the command platform, her eyes wide. Jiho laughed out loud, delighted. Yuna wept, overwhelmed by the beauty of what she was experiencing. The fire was spreading faster now, responding to the interface. But it wasn't consuming. It was rebuilding, transforming. Through the windows, they could see the ice beginning to change. It remained frozen, but within the crystalline structure, new patterns formed. Patterns that stored light, that processed energy, that thought in slow, deep ways. Teeny monitored the interface, his hands steady despite the wonder on his face. It's working. The machine is accepting the collaboration. It's letting us guide the transformation. Hyen stood beside him, barely able to contain his excitement. We're not just subjects of the test anymore. We're partners in it. The transformation accelerated. Across Arcturus V, the fire bloomed in cascading waves of light and change. The oceans remained liquid, but between the water molecules, new structures grew. Crystal lattice that could think, that could dream, that held consciousness like vessels holding light deep beneath the surface. In the planet's core, stable fusion reactions ignited in caverns of supercooled matter. Fire burned where fire should not exist, creating energy in ways that broke every textbook. But the energy was controlled, shaped by the combined will of humanity and the ancient machine. Nari watched her screens fill with data, patterns she had been seeking finally revealing themselves completely. The planet is becoming alive. Not metaphorically. Actually alive. It's developing a consciousness. Will it replace us? Sumi asked, her earlier fear returning. No, Nari said, smiling. It's inviting us in, asking us to be part of it. We don't have to accept, but the offer is there. Throughout the colony, people made their choices. Some opened themselves to the connection, letting their consciousness expand to touch the awakening planet. Others held back, choosing to remain as they were. The machine, guided by the interface Hyen had built, respected both choices. Doyen let himself connect. The sensation was overwhelming. Suddenly, he was aware of thousands of other minds, all his fellow colonists who had chosen the same thing. He could feel their thoughts, not invasively, but like hearing voices in another room. Comforting. Connected. And beyond that, he felt the planet. Arcturus V was waking up, becoming aware of itself for the first time in its long existence. It was curious, gentle, eager to understand the tiny humans who walked on its surface. Minho found himself able to sense the planet's structure in ways his instruments never could. He understood the flow of matter through the transformed core, knew instinctively where the fire was strengthening and where it was stabilizing. The planet was sharing its knowledge with him. Yuna connected with the biological systems transforming across the world. She could feel every microorganism, every plant, every living thing that was changing. And through it all, she felt the planet's care for these small lives, its desire to help them thrive. Hours passed. The transformation continued. The fire spread across every continent, through every ocean, into the deepest parts of the world. But always guided, always controlled, shaped by the collaboration between ancient machine and stubborn humanity. By sunset, the transformation was complete. Arcturus V is reborn. No longer just a frozen world circling a distant star. Now it was alive, conscious, aware. A garden world of impossible beauty where fire and ice existed in perfect balance, where physics bent to allow the impossible, And humanity had changed too. Those who had accepted the connection found themselves enhanced. Their minds could process information faster, perceive patterns more clearly, communicate thoughts to each other with barely an effort. But they were still human, still themselves, just more. Those who had refused a connection remained unchanged, exactly as they were. And the planet accepted them too, welcomed them, protected them just as much as it did those who had transformed. Hannah stood on the platform that evening, looking out at her colony, her people. Some glowed faintly with the energy of the transformation. Others looked the same as always. But all were together. All were safe. "We did it," Doyen said, joining her. "We actually did it." "We did something," Hannah corrected. "I'm not sure what yet." 3 months later, the Galactic Council returned. Their ships entered the system cautiously, scanning for the expected debris field. The signs of planetary collapse that always followed a Class 5 anomaly dot instead. They found Arcturus 7 thriving. The Valrine representative requested a meeting with Hannah. She met them in orbit, taking the shuttle up to their flagship. The crystalline being stared at her with something that might have been shock. "This is impossible," the Valrine said. "The planet should be destroyed. You should all be dead." "We stayed," Hannah replied simply. "We adapted. We thrived." "How?" Hannah smiled. "We refused to accept the choice we were given. We made our own choice instead. We worked with the fire instead of fighting it or running from it." She showed them the data, explained the interface, the collaboration, the transformation. The Valrine processed this information in silence. "No species has ever done this," it finally said. 17 worlds, 17 tests, all failed. The pattern was absolute. We believed it could not be broken. "You believed wrong," Hannah said gently. "The pattern broke because we didn't follow it. We didn't run like you expected. We didn't fight like others did. We did something you've never seen before." "What?" "We adapted. We changed. We became something new while staying true to what we were." The Valrine was quiet for a long time. Then it asked, "Why?" Hannah thought about that. About the choice to stay, about the risk they had taken, about the impossible transformation they had achieved. Because that's what humans do. When we see an impossible problem, we don't accept that it's impossible. We change what impossible means. The Council's observation teams came to study Arcturus V. They measured the transformed matter, analyzed the conscious planet, interviewed the colonists. The data they gathered challenged everything they thought they knew about physics, about consciousness, about the limits of what was possible. Mingho took some of them down to see the ancient machine. It still pulsed with energy, but now it was connected to the planet's core, integrated into the new systems humanity had helped create. The machine that had been searching for millions of years had finally found what it was looking for. Nari showed them the patterns, the mathematics of transformation that she and Hyan had mapped. The Council scientists were stunned. These patterns could be applied to other worlds, other systems. The transformation didn't have to be dangerous. It could be controlled, guided, shaped. Yuna explained the biological changes, how the transformation had enhanced life without destroying it. The Council's doctors had never seen anything like it. Evolution that happened in hours instead of eons, guided by consciousness instead of random chance. Word spread across the galaxy. The human colony that survived the impossible. The species that refused to run, that chose to dance with fire instead of fleeing from it. More humans came to Arcturus V, not to colonize but to learn, to see what their species had achieved, to understand what transformation meant. The colony grew. The planet welcomed new arrivals, offering them the same choice it had offered the original colonists. Transform or remain. Both were honored. Both were valued. Du Yun stood at the edge of the drilling platform a year after the transformation. The same platform where this had all started, where he had first seen the impossible readings. The fire still burned beneath the ice, but now he understood it. He could feel it, part of his expanded awareness. "Do you ever regret it?" Jiho asked, joining him. "The choice to stay?" Doyun smiled. "Never. We could have run. We could have played it safe. But then we wouldn't be us anymore. Humans don't run from the impossible. We run toward it, even when it might kill us. Especially then." Far above, the ancient machine sent a signal into deep space. A simple message transmitted across light years to others of its kind, scattered across the galaxy. Machines that had been waiting, testing, searching. The message was short. Just 3 words in a language older than most stars. "Found them, humans. And in the deep places of Arcturus 7, in caverns where fire burned through ice, where matter existed in states that had no names, where a planet dreamed its slow, vast dreams, humanity built their home, not because it was easy, not because it was safe, but because when faced with impossible fire, they chose to ask how they could make it burn brighter. That was the human way. That would always be the human way. And across the galaxy, other species began to wonder what else they had been too afraid to try.